Hi, I'm Bob Ethington.
And I'm Nick Nicholas.
And this is From Akron and Beyond. Hi there, folks. How are you doing? And Nick, how are you doing?
Oh, it's a great day today.
It is indeed. It's always a great day with you, Nick.
Oh, same here, buddy. We have an exciting guest. I mean, we did a little bit of research, and somebody that's such a fascinating person that we had no clue existed until a couple of weeks ago. That's not a great introduction, but it's
not, Nick. It's actually a terrible introduction. Welcome to our guest who we've never heard of and have no idea what he does. How did he get in here, actually? That's a very good question.
But you'll soon find out.
No, our guest, I was thinking this is kind of like, from Akron and beyond and then back to Akron. And so, that's about all I got. I came up with that one on the way here. But anyway,
our
guest is Silas Hite. And Silas has a remarkable career of doing all kinds of musical projects, doing commercials and film scores, and then recordings of his own, doing music often that's kind of Americana, but also just kind of like all over the map. I mean, he's so eclectic.
What can you say?
I guess what I can say is, hi, Silas, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks. How are you guys?
Perfect.
We're really good, and we're really glad to have you here today, and thanks. And
happy to be here.
Apologize for the very dumb introduction.
That's fine.
So, Silas, let's begin at the beginning. Where are you from?
I'm from Crown King, Arizona, a tiny little mountain town. My mom's from Akron.
Okay.
Left in the late 70s and met my dad in this tiny gold mining town, almost a ghost town. It's about 100 people still to this day. No pavement, no government. They're really off the beaten track. And
I have to ask, without going into too much detail or anything that might still be, under legal issues. Yeah. How did your parents meet there?
They were both working for the Forest Service.
Oh, okay.
Wow. Yeah, so they met there. It's in the little town's in the middle of a national forest, which is also why it hasn't grown, because it's hemmed in by national forest land.
What's the nearest large city
Prescott or Phoenix. It's kind of in between the two, but you have to drive 26 miles on a dirt road to get there. So I grew up there, but I grew up coming back here in the summers and staying with my grandparents and in Akron. And so this was always like my second home, very close to my heart. And I still have a ton of family here.
Right.
And then my wife is from here also, and we met when we were kids.
Okay.
And then we
when you
ended
were
up
back on a visit here.
So we met when we were kids. My grandmother, Mig Mothersbaugh, was a Sunday school teacher, and made me go to Sunday school, and that's where I met my wife when we were kids.
Okay, that's nice.
And anyway, lost touch for a long time. My wife Lisa McIntyre was here and in bands and stuff. She was in a band called Interfuse. But we lost touch until around 2009, and then reconnected when I was visiting family again. Hit it off, and then it was just like a runaway love story. And she moved to Los Angeles, and we got married, and we were there forever. And then a couple years ago, during the pandemic, we were like, I'd been in LA for 20 years, working, doing my thing. It was great, and she had been there for quite a while too, and we liked it. But it just felt like that was the opportunity where everybody could work from anywhere.
Sure.
And it was widely accepted. Before that, if you're a composer or in the entertainment industry, it kind of felt like if you left and you weren't going to New York or Nashville or something, it felt like you were giving up or retiring, or people didn't quite understand. But then, because everybody was moving everywhere in every field, and it was widely accepted, then it was okay. And so we moved out here. We bought a house in Bath. I built a new studio from scratch with an amazing local architect named Fred Zampano. And it's my office now, and that's where I work from. And so I'm still doing the same thing, scoring films, TV shows, commercials, video games, making albums, and we're loving being here.
It is remarkable. I mean, we were probably moving in this direction anyway because of technology. But the pandemic really kind of, I think, accelerated that, where I know so many people who, you hear what their jobs are, and you think they must have to live in Washington D.C. or they must have to live in New York or L.A. And it's like, no, they live
Actually,
here,
no.
or they live in Des Moines or whatever,
Yeah.
because you can do so much now that
If you're
way.
talented enough, you can work out of anywhere.
Right,
Yeah.
right, exactly.
I do think it was important for me to start my career in LA and get the kind of get the foundation going
bona
and build up.
fides.
Yeah,
Yeah.
learn my craft, but also spend the time there making the contacts and things like that.
Right.
So that I was able to leave.
So let's talk about that. So
Sure.
you're in the middle of nowhere in Arizona.
Yeah.
Coming back to Akron from time to time. And what inspired you to get into music?
My dad is a musician, and he would always play guitar around the house, and
Okay.
music was super important to him. My mom would pick up instruments from time to time and mess with them, and my uncles are Mark and Bob Mothersbaugh from Devo.
Sure.
Yeah, okay. We noticed the last name
Yeah,
there earlier. So
Yeah, so I grew up being very aware of their music and watching their music videos
Sure.
and that kind of stuff.
that would be inspiring right there. Just to
Yeah.
have someone in the family like that.
Yeah, exactly. And I really identified with the mix of music and art that Devo does. And so I think it was both my parents and also, my uncles. And so the school I went to was a one-room school in Crown King, literally a little red schoolhouse. There's 7 or 8 kids.
Yeah.
No high school there because it's so small. So I went to a boarding school in Arizona, which was great. Not much of a music program. Prior to that, actually, I just randomly, when I was 11, told my dad, I want to play drums. And we found this drum teacher who lived in the middle of nowhere in the desert. His name was Mel Zelnick, and he used to play with Benny Goodman and big jazz greats.
Yeah.
So he was awesome. So I started studying with him, and that was my first instrument. But
Yeah, I've noticed as a drummer myself,
Yeah.
I've noticed that you are very percussion.
Yeah,
You played
for sure.
marimbas and all kinds
Oh, wow.
of things. Yeah, yeah.
After high school, I went to U of A in Tucson, which mostly because their percussion program was excellent.
Okay, yeah,
So-
yeah. All right. So, do you remember any particular music you heard on the radio or anything that, just kind
Yeah.
of really spiked your interest?
Most of the time when I'd work with my dad when I was a kid, he would have the radio on. And it was usually classic rock stuff, And I do remember, even though the lyrics are probably out of step with what's PC these days,
Yeah.
the Dire Straits, Money for Nothing,
Oh,
Chicks
yeah,
for
sure,
Free.
right. Yeah,
My
yeah.
dad loves, I don't know if he loves mechanicking, but he's a gifted mechanic, and he loves cars. And I remember him working on a car in our garage and him trying to explain to me, how a carburetor works, and I just not getting it at all. I'm like, this is Greek to me. But that song is playing on the stereo, and I remember listening to it and thinking about that's the way to do it, because even in that song they're talking about guys moving refrigerators and stuff like that.
Right.
And I'm thinking,
MTV.
yeah, I kind of want to do the music thing instead.
Yeah.
And that was maybe just the first inkling, but I remember
Sure.
listening to
That's
that on
cool.
the radio and hearing that
Yeah.
and thinking about it.
I find a lot of our guests have surprisingly specific inspirational memories like that.
You're not kidding,
Interesting.
Yeah, and that's interesting
Huh.
to hear that, what your story is on that. So, be that as it may, there's still a big step to be taken from your one-room schoolhouse to the boarding school to college to ultimately working in L.A., really as kind of, am I correct that it kind of as a multi-instrumentalist and producer?
Composer.
Composer. Okay.
Yeah, I graduated from college and reached out to my
And
uncle
that was
Mark.
a music degree, you said?
Actually, it was a, kind of a strange degree. It was music, art, and business combined.
Oh, wow.
Because I was studying music, and I was studying every aspect of music that I could, because I wasn't sure what exactly I wanted to do. And so in college, I was studying percussion, studied composition. They had a recording studio that I interned in, and I was like, I love this. And then I worked at the radio station, had a radio show, was a
Okay.
promotions director there. But I was also doing visual art and multimedia art and stuff, because I felt like it was, the same, it was all related, same part of the brain, and just was into it. But then also I noticed that a lot of artists and creative people, even if they were incredible at what they did, had a hard time making a living.
Sure.
And I also noticed that...
We've noticed that, too.
Yeah, it's not easy.
Still having a difficulty.
Yeah. But I also noticed almost everyone in my family was self-employed or had started their own business at some point or something. And so I figured, well, that's probably...
Your father also?
Yeah. And my mother.
Yeah.
And so I figured it would be helpful to get a little business training.
Smart.
And so anyway, so the degree was called Fine Arts Studies, but it was a combination of all this stuff.
I see. Mm-hmm.
I reached out to my Uncle Mark and said, hey, I'm coming out to Los Angeles once I graduate to try and work in the music business. Would you possibly be interested in having me at your studio? And he was super sweet, but he was like, not really. He was always really nice and encouraging, but he's like, we're not hiring anybody. We haven't hired anyone in forever. And also your family, that's a little weird. Like, I don't want to,
He didn't want that complexity.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And I was like, all right, well, I'm moving out there anyway. I'm gonna give it a shot. Finally, to his credit, he was like, all right, look, I'll give you a trial period as an intern, 6 months, and then we'll reassess, okay? And I was like, all right.
Man.
So I started there, walking the dogs, making coffee, all that stuff.
Right.
What a cool looking building out at
it's
Mutado's,
gorgeous.
like a flying saucer in the middle of a street.
It is. It's lime green, circular. If you've never seen it, look it up.
Yeah.
And the inside is incredible. It's a cross between a music studio, a toy store, and an instrument museum, and also like an art factory.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
I remember my son was he's in a theater. He works for Magnolia Pictures, but at the time
cool.
he was working doing an internship at Paramount in L.A. And I had him call your uncle and basically say, "Oh, Nick Nicholas is my father," and he took him showed him around. So that was
nice.
really nice of Mark to do that.
Yeah. I noticed when I was working there, he always took time to do that, to be friendly when people would show up, and especially if there was some Akron connection or whatever. I always thought that was nice because we would be insanely busy, but he would still make time to,
Did your other uncle Bob? Did he work there too?
He did. At the time, he was working on Rugrats, that TV show.
Yeah.
And he actually taught me quite a bit about scoring, and particularly scoring cartoons. And when Devo started touring again, oh gosh, I can't remember what year this would have been, maybe roughly 2006, they started doing a little bit more touring, and they hadn't really been for a while. They were kind of stressed because they're like, well, we have to leave the studio, but we're in the middle of these projects. And that was kind of an open door for me. And I started, started working on the cartoon Bob was working on at the time, which was a continuation of the Rugrats. It was a spinoff called All Grown Up. But prior to that, I went from walking the dog and all of that stuff to they would let me work on commercial demos,
right,
and work try and building up my skills there. And then eventually I got really good at it, and they the clients started buying my music, and so I eventually became full-time composer there. Was there for 7 years.
Okay. So when you say composer, you're composing music for commercials, video games, TV shows, and movies. Okay, right.
Yeah,
everything.
And that's got to be kind of a incredible sort of education for a musician because it's so, the versatility you have to call upon, right?
What's interesting, though, it used to be such a niche when we were kids growing up. But now, now all the streaming, you watch Netflix and Prime and all that stuff. There's dozens and dozens of composers, that are or music guys, that are
so much content that people need now for all these different platforms. Yeah,
indeed.
So, I know you won you are Emmy winning for some. And what did you win that for?
It was actually a commercial.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a public service announcement about homelessness.
Okay.
Yeah, I've won a ton of awards for commercial scores. Oddly enough. And, most composers want to do commercials because they're lucrative, but then they do some and they realize how maddening it is. It's probably the most maddening, frustrating experience in terms of working with your client because the turnarounds are nuts. There's tons of notes. Like you might revise this 30-second piece of music 30 times.
Yeah.
And they won't even think twice about asking you to, strip it down, build it up, do it this way, that way, whatever. And that, and can we have it in an hour? Like, it's totally nuts. But I've always really liked it and like kind of enjoyed the challenge of it and been able to sort of thrive doing it. I'm glad that's not all I do.
Yeah,
there's great things. I do still do a variety of, I usually do about a movie or two a year, usually a TV series, a video game, and then like a handful of commercials throughout the year, and then some albums.
Yeah,
that's kind of and I like that variety because they all, even though I'm just writing music, if you boil it down, it's all different, and they all have different demands.
Sure.
And there's different fun parts about each one,
Right.
and
Sure.
frustrations, of course.
Yeah, I would think it would be good. Well, I don't want to get you in trouble, but I would think it could be challenging dealing with certain clients,
of course,
for commercials and things, because perhaps some of them don't really know that much about music or care, or really, but they're hearing something that you probably thought was very effective, and for some reason it's jarring to them or something, right?
Yeah. It's there's being a composer is definitely a lot about psychology and translating what they're saying to you, trying to read in between the lines, and like when they say something sounds too orange, like you have to figure out what that means and make it musically work for them. And they might not be able to explain it any better than that.
Right.
But that's okay. Like you can't hold that against them. You just have to try and decipher and figure it out.
Navigate.
You sound like you've developed the right temperament for this job.
Yeah. If you're easily frustrated, it's not the job for you. You should try something else.
Right. So you're doing all this high-level work for a variety of different platforms, and as you've mentioned, television shows and commercials and what have you. But then there's the music that comes from your heart that you really put out there, just for your own. Not, but you're hoping for the pleasure of anyone hearing it, but obviously it's your own thing. So, my understanding is that a lot of your stuff is kind of, I guess, would come under the umbrella of Americana kind of stuff.
Well, actually, I have two sort of umbrellas.
It's kind of a vague thing, so yeah.
Yeah, so two umbrellas. If it's coming out under my name, Silas Hite, that's kind of all over the map, and it tends to be just instrumental stuff. So this last album, The Return of the Vampire Hustlers from Hell, is very 70s, funky, grimy kind of stuff. The record before that is Chicha Macabra, is kind of inspired by 1960s, 1970s Chicha music from Peru.
Okay.
The one before that is Out West, and that's very spaghetti western. So those are all instrumental. And then the Americana stuff is songs where I'm actually singing. They have vocals, and that is under the name The Satin Cowboy and the Seven Deadly Sins.
Okay.
And it just so happens that when I write a song, meaning with vocals rather than instrumental, it just tends to come out in that Americana style usually. And I noticed that, and I was like kind of writing more and more songs, and they were just fitting into that camp of Americana, where it's sort of a little bit of rock and roll, a little bit of old country, a little bit of bluegrass, all of those influences. And so...
And it's just stuff you like naturally that you're writing. Yeah.
But, that was an excellent question segging from the last thing we were talking about, because one of the reasons I write this music, which is not for a client, is I find that, and this is advice I give to my composer friends or anyone that asks, is I really think you have to have your own creative outlet where nobody is making any decisions but you, or making any calls, any critiques, any judgments. When I make a record, I don't have a record label. Yeah. I don't have any managers. I don't have anyone saying, you can't do this, maybe you should do this, whatever. It's just me, and it's done when I say it's done.
Yeah.
And having that creative outlet really does allow me to work on a commercial or a TV show or whatever and realize that's for them. I'm just trying to achieve their vision as best I can and serve their project. And it's okay if they want to tear down my music and totally change it or whatever. That's not my baby.
Right.
And if you don't have this other thing that is your baby, if you don't have your own personal project, it's really easy to let your film score or commercial score become your your heart and soul's in it, and then you can't let go, and you don't want to revise it, and you become difficult to work with. So I always I like to have both, and I think it's made me be a better composer for other people to work with.
Yeah, that makes total sense. But it's an outlet.
Yes.
For you, but it's also more because this is stuff that's coming from your heart. Again, not to be too corny about it.
Absolutely.
If I may, the silver lining or the unexpected part was it's done really well getting licensed then for movies and TV shows and commercials because I'm putting so much care and effort into it, and it is unique, and recording live players and like really making it cool. Then people are coming to it and being like, oh, this is awesome. And it gets licensed as is, meaning I don't have to change it and water it down for the public. They're actually like, this is neat. Let's put this in the film or whatever. And so and then I was just doing it because I wanted to, because I thought it was cool. And so, but it's been a nice thing to then it does pay for itself, know? And and it's nice to then see it in a different light and, in a movie or something. And you're like, wow, I didn't write it for that, but it does work. And
this is From Akron and Beyond.
Yeah.
I'm Bob Ethington with Nick Nicholas, and we're interviewing Silas Hite about his latest project, which we will get to in a moment. He has a big album release show coming up very soon, and so we will be talking about that in a moment. But before we get there, I want to ask you about your studio. So you moved back here to Akron, and we won't be too specific about where it is, but it's
in the area.
It's in the area. You've built this studio, and it's I've only seen photos of it, but it's beautiful.
It's like a studio that didn't exist in Akron.
Well, Nick mentioned it. We both over the years recorded at Suma
in Painesville,
and that they would had the facilities for orchestras and things to and that's kind of what your studio looks like. I mean, the roof, the ceiling is high,
very professional looking.
Thank you.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about your studio.
Yeah. So we moved here from LA, and part of the challenge was finding either a place that we could convert into a studio or land where we could build something from scratch, and also in a neighborhood we wanted to live. So fortunately it worked out. We found a beautiful home, and then I was connected with this gem of a man named Fred Zampano, who was the architect who helped me build the studio. He had never built a studio before, but he was a musician, so
Did you need the whole structure like a building, or was it an existing building that you...
No, it's from scratch. Totally from scratch.
Okay.
And he had never built a studio, but is a musician, and so understood why I would want double walls and things like that, and was very was wonderful to work with. But I had to design it basically, and say okay, this is what we're going to need in the walls. This is why we need the walls, the inner walls not to touch the outer walls, and things like that make a place soundproof. And then he would figure out, okay, how do we execute this and make it still look good and things like that.
No egg cartons on the wall.
Yeah, exactly. So it was quite an investment, but it's gorgeous. I love it. It's huge. It's about 1,400 square feet, and there's a giant live room with high ceilings.
Yeah.
And then a smaller control room where I'm mixing in, and then, a basement to also hold all my extra instruments and drum cases. And I play a ton of different instruments, and so the studio is full of them. And, it's my office. It's not open to the public. It's not a commercial space.
That's what I was going to ask. So it's not like
just your own thing.
I don't record bands.
Oh, okay.
Nope. It's just my office. It's where I work on scores.
It sounds like you're busy enough not to get
That's
involved.
also a part of it. Yeah.
Beautiful.
I can't rent out my space for a week and then tell my clients I'm not available.
Right.
Smart.
Right. When you do the music that you do for your clients, or otherwise, do you play all the instruments?
I play most of them. I like to hire session musicians when I can, or if the score needs it. But I do play most of the stuff because I like doing it.
Yeah,
I really enjoy it. That's part of why I do this. But if there's instruments I don't play that are needed, like I don't play string instruments like violin, cello, that kind of stuff. upright bass I don't play, horns I don't play. So those things I do hire session players, and
some
I
of that
love
stuff
it.
you can use synthesizers to kind of couple, but you
can.
Yeah.
I hate doing it.
Yeah.
It depends on the budget and the time that I'm given.
Right.
Unfortunately, most of the time for commercials, it's such a fast turnaround that they don't leave time. And I'm like, hey, I'll tell them, hey, I would love to record like real horns. It's going to sound 1,000 times better. And they're like, yeah, cool. And then they never leave you time to do it.
Right.
So you end up with samples.
Yeah.
But that's also part of being good at your job, is to make sure it sounds as realistic and good as you can.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, it's a big difference. That's why when people hear my albums composed, compared to like, let's say, a commercial score, they sound 1,000 times better because it's all real people,
right.
mixed well and with care taken.
Right. Before we get to your new album, I did notice, looking at some notes, that you did some recording. Maybe this is for the new album. Maybe I should read a little more carefully, Nick. But at Ennio Morricone's studio?
Yeah.
You have to tell me more about
I read
that.
that
Sure.
too.
Yeah, sure. So when I was working on the Spaghetti Western album out west, I was listening to a lot of his music, and it was an inspiration for it, for sure.
Yeah.
Bob, tell a little bit about who he is, in case the audience doesn't know.
Morricone?
Yeah.
Well, he was just
Spaghetti Western king.
Well, and a great Italian film composer who wrote music for Fellini films, and then some of the famous spaghetti Western themes that you come to mind. So he's a very you've heard him, trust me. Anyone listening to this has heard Morricone's music. Anyway, he actually wrote Godfather, didn't he? I mean, he didn't write the theme for The Godfather, but I think he wrote some of the score for that.
No, that was somebody else. That was.
Yeah, I don't remember one way or the other if he was involved in that. I don't remember his name being involved with that, but I may
be wrong.
Yeah,
I
think
can't
so.
recall.
Okay.
But he's mostly known for inventing the spaghetti Western genre that you think of with the whistling and the guitars and stuff. And
right.
I grew up in the Southwest, in Arizona and in California, and so the Southwestern, it was always part of the Southwest sound in my mind, and so I think every composer would like to take a crack at having a score that's, like spaghetti Western. And so during the pandemic, when things got slow and times got dark mentally, I was making a bucket list for my career, and, doing a spaghetti Western type soundtrack for a film was on it. But I thought, like, boy, that stuff just isn't made very often. What are the odds I'm actually going to be able to do it? So I thought, screw it. I'm just going to make it I'm going to make it my own.
Yeah.
Make it as cool as I want and exactly how I want. So I did. Through that, did some research, found out that his studio that Morricone has since passed away, but the studio that he used forever in Rome is still running. It's called Forum Studios. My wife is half Italian, her mother from Italy, and we go back to Italy a lot to visit family.
Nice.
And Rome is one of my favorite cities in the world. It's just incredible.
I'd
And
love to go there. Anyway, go ahead.
It's so cool. But so we went my wife was actually asked to speak and be at a conference at the Vatican.
Oh, wow.
She's an expert in higher education.
Okay.
And I went with her just to go to Rome and hang out. And while I was there, I contacted Forum Studios and got a tour of his. At this point, I was already done with the Spaghetti Western record. But I saw the studio, and it was beautiful, and I was like, wow, I'd love to work here someday. So fast forward to we go back. She's asked back to work again, and I contacted them and said, hey, I'm working on this other record. I would love to book some time there to record instruments that I don't own, like timpani, for example.
Right, yeah.
And also, we have friends there, and one of them's a musician, Luca Sapio, amazing soul singer. He lives there. He has a cool studio in Rome also. But he said, they have a cathedral organ there that you can record. And because I was working on Return of the Vampire Hustlers from Hell, which is horror, action, 70s sound, I thought cathedral organ would be great for the horror part, right?
Sure, right.
And so I booked the studio, and I recorded some of the percussion for the album there, and then upstairs. So the studio is built underground, by RCA in the 50s, and it's gorgeous. And it wasn't just Morricone's studio. There was 4 composers, main ones that worked there all the time. Morricone was afraid to fly, so even when he got really popular and got offers to go to Hollywood, he wouldn't do it.
No.
So he did everything from Rome forever. And the instruments were still there, so I got to use like some of his instruments. It was so neat. But this studio is underground, and above it is the third largest cathedral in Rome, which is saying something. It's gigantic.
Sure, yeah.
And so I got to record their cathedral organ there.
Oh, wow.
And it was a giant space. It was beautiful. And actually, just today, we released a little documentary about the making of the album. And so you can see some of that stuff in it. It's on my YouTube page. But
all right, cool.
But that's how and why I was there.
Yeah.
And it was such a cool experience.
Well, first of all, I have to issue a correction. I was confusing Morricone with Nino Rota.
Oh, yeah, Nino Rota.
Yeah, and so that was my bad on that. I have certain friends that'll beat me to a pulp when they next see me that I confuse those two because they're very different. But yes, anyway, I'll stand by what I said when you've heard Morricone's music.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering about his studio if it was. So you said it was built in the 50s, so it would have been post Mussolini, because a lot of the cinema, the studios and stuff there were built by him. Right? Yeah.
Well, the story that they told me when I got the tour was, after Italy lost in World War II, they'd been bombed, and their economy was down, like most of Europe was pretty decimated. And I think during the 50s they reached out to America and said, "Hey, we need some help rebuilding. Can you send any businesses this way?" And RCA built a plant over there.
I see. Okay.
And I think they were making, TVs and tubes and all the stuff that RCA would be making during the 50s. And then as an offshoot or part of that, they ended up then building this studio as well, which is gorgeous.
Yeah.
And still a lot of 1950s stuff in there.
Yeah, because that label was really kicking then, with Elvis and all that other. So RCA was a big deal back then.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
For
sure. So let's talk about your latest project.
Sure. Yeah.
It is called, as has been mentioned on the show, The Return of the Vampire Hustlers from Hell. And my understanding of this, and maybe this will be my next faux pas, but my understanding is that this is a soundtrack to an imaginary film.
You got it.
Yeah. Okay. So tell us what the imaginary film is about.
All right. So this project was born of an artist named D-Rex. His name's Derek Zimmerman. He's a local guy.
Okay.
And he's been in bands here and stuff. He's best friends with my wife and one of my closest friends, and he's an incredible illustrator. And
did he do the cover art?
He did. He did the artwork for that. He did my Out West album and my Chicha Macabra album. He's an excellent illustrator and fantastic to work with and a good guy. But he made a fake movie poster for an Italian film that he made up called The Return of the Vampire Hustlers from Hell. The name is so long because we thought it was funny, like to just make it ridiculously long, I think was the point there. But he texted me over a photo of this, the artwork that he did, and he said, "Hey, this was probably 2000, this is probably 2020 or 2021, something like that." Mm-hmm. He said, "Hey, do you have any music in your library I can put with this when I post it to Instagram or whatever?" And at the time he still is always making art just relentlessly. And I'm making music relentlessly. And so, I would give him music from my library to use with his stuff if he wanted it or vice versa. And he would help me with projects. And but he sent this over and he said, "Do you have any Italian horror music circa 1970s in your library?" And I went, "Wow, I don't, but I would love to write something. That sounds super cool." So all of a sudden it blossomed into a full album. So I started it in Los Angeles. And he started making more artwork, and I started making more music. And, at first I was trying to model it after Goblin and these Italian horror films for Suspiria and stuff.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But then I realized I felt like I was trying to do someone else's music, and I said, I got to make this my own and kind of follow my North Star or whatever with this. And he was like, "Yeah, sure." So it is still very 70s, very horror. And because of the Morricone influence, there's still some Italian influence in there. But started working on that. Then we sold that house and studio and moved out here. And this amazing fellow, Thomas Kincaid, who has a studio in Kenmore, let me share his studio for a while mine was being built. So I worked on it there for a while. Went to Rome, recorded there. And then when my studio was done, I recorded the drums and horns in this big new live room because I wanted that. If you have a beautiful big room,
sure,
it's great for the particularly loud instruments like
right.
drums and horns. And so the horns, I used some local session players and then also some friends and family. My cousin Al Mothersbaugh, you might know from the Twist Offs.
Yeah.
Massive Hot Dog Recall.
We played with them before, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I love that guy. He played trombone. My cousin Joe played tuba. Who else? My niece and nephew played on it. My niece, Monica Cardarelli, played flute. My nephew, Michael Cardarelli, who's an insane guitar player, did some amazing solos, very 70s, super cool stuff. So a lot with my projects, my albums, I really try and integrate friends and family if I can. It just makes it more fun and kind of more special. And we talked briefly about the Satin Cowboy and the Seven Deadly Sins music. Mm-hmm. My dad will play on that stuff sometimes, or whatever friends and family. I'll have friends come over. I'll get them to sing background vocals. Just trying to make it more of a special thing. So when I listen back, I can remember that stuff.
Now, excuse me. I've seen a music video for your album.
Oh,
am I correct?
For Vampire Hustlers?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so the music is very cool. And it definitely sounds like it evokes exactly what it's trying to do, which is 70s horror film, but also kind of action film too, right? Am I correct with that?
Very correct.
And, car chases and things. And it's really fun. It must have been fun to put that together.
It was really fun. I wanted it to be, even though it's horror, I think when you think of a horror soundtrack, a lot of times it's like just sort of slow and creepy or something perhaps. Mm-hmm. This is more upbeat, funky, fun, and I wanted that so that since there isn't a movie currently, I wanted it to be, when you put the album on, I wanted it to be fun for people to have on,
Was it like a months-long project?
Years.
Oh,
because we started it in LA during the pandemic and just finished it.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so it's been years in the making. Mostly that was because I moved and had to build a studio.
Is it instrumental? The whole
yes,
thing?
It's instrumental.
That's what I gathered. Okay.
Yeah.
So this coming Saturday, that's February 7th, for you listening on live radio, there's going to be a record release party for the album, The Return of the Vampire Hustlers from Hell, and it's going to be at the Electric Company here in Akron. That's kind of like a little east of downtown. Do you have the address of that, Silas?
I do. It's 15 Broad Street.
Broad Street, okay.
Right off of East Market. So it's in between downtown and the Goodyear Theater, basically.
Yeah.
Is where it's at. And
it's a cool performance space.
Yes.
Have you been there?
I've played there, yeah.
Oh, that's the place you...
And also have seen some bands there. It's a cool place. Yeah. So,
it felt fitting, right?
Mm-hmm. And it's very kind of informal but nice, and so it'll be a perfect place for this event. Yeah. And you've kind of making it sort of a multimedia thing because you've got some art going on too.
Yeah.
So tell us more about that.
Sure. So the album will be playing throughout the night, right, over the PA system, setting the vibe, and then the main room is taken over by Derek, aka D-Rex, his video art that he's made for Vampire Hustlers. So you mentioned the music video; he made that, but he did all of the album artwork and then artwork for all of the singles, which are gorgeous illustrations. And then he also brought them to life through animation. He animated all of his artwork. And so he did all this great, video art. And so the main room will be his art projected on big projectors through the whole thing as sort of a highlighted thing. I mean, he's been working on this stuff for years at this point, you know? And also some of his prints and original drawings and stuff. And then we asked friends and just artists that we like from Northeast Ohio if they would be willing to do a group art show and if I could send them the music and they would do something based on the music also. And so, cool. So there's a group art show as well. And people have been dropping off the art all weekend and it's looking good. So it's only 2 hours, the event. It's from 7 to 9 on Saturday, but it's free. And I really wanted to do something that just brought everybody together.
Yeah.
I know it sounds like kind of cheesy, but I'm definitely not making any money on this. It's really just about like having an event and giving some people something to look forward to in February in particular.
Yeah.
But to bring us all together and do, kind of an art music scene kind of thing.
This is so exciting, every aspect of this, but you brought some albums. Are any of those going to be for sale?
Yes.
And
they will be. Yeah.
And is there a way for someone to purchase it digitally also?
Yeah. Well, you can purchase the vinyl at silashite.com.
Oh, okay.
And I'll ship it to you and sign it and write whatever you want on it. If you want digital, it will be out on Tuesday, which will be February 10th. The full digital album will be released. So a few days after the event, after the record release party. There's some singles out now. If you go, you can hear, I think 4 singles are out. And then the full album will be out February 10th.
Yeah, I've heard some of the music. I think it's terrific. Cool.
Thanks.
Congratulations. And we'll put the link to your website on the description for
Appreciate
this.
that.
So when it's put out there. Silas, this has been fascinating.
Wow, man.
And
out of nowhere.
well, it's just so funny. This is something we have learned repeatedly on our show, and it never fails to make me very happy that there's so much talent, so many interesting, creative people in Akron that are doing things that are just really like inspiring and impressive, and so often no one knows about it.
No, I know.
And I mean, what you're doing here is just an incredible credit to you and also to the area. That's you're able to be comfortable doing it here. So that's all very cool. But I'm just I'm glad to have you in here and that I've learned so much about your career. I'm going to be pursuing some of this other stuff.
Me too. And thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me. This was a blast, and it's been lovely moving back here and finding the same thing that you just said, finding so many interesting, creative people doing amazing, cool, wild work. It's really, it is inspiring.
Yeah, and of all ages too. And a lot of young people doing stuff. It's just great. So, anyway, I want to repeat for our listeners who maybe didn't get the information specific for Silas's record release party of his new The Return of the Vampire Hustlers from Hell. I just like saying that.
Yeah. It's fun to say.
There will be a record release party for that and a group art exhibition. This is all on Saturday, February 7th from 7 to 9 p.m. It's at the Electric Company in Akron. That's on Broad Street. It's right off of East Market. Easy to find, easy to see. Very cool place.
You'll see a lot of cars in the area.
And we definitely recommend attending that. And we wish you very well, Silas, on this.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
Okay, so this has been From Akron and Beyond. I am Bob Ethington with Nick Nicholas. We will see you next time.